Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Three's a Crowd. I'm Preston Vargas here, getting set for another episode here today, where we got a lot to talk about with Fernando Mendoza making his first NFL start in the preseason against the Texans last night. It didn't go well, and we also have joint practices that got a little bit scrappy. We'll talk about the future of that. But first, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more episodes like this. We'll try to we're trying to do 5 days a week. Hopefully, we can continue to do that, and we'll also have streams later on. Actually, this afternoon we will have Arsenal taking on Coventry City in the opening game of the Premier League season. So that is at 3 o'clock Eastern. Make sure to tune into that. But anyways, let's get into the episode at hand today. So last night there was preseason action for Fernando Mendoza and the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Houston Texans. Now the starters on offense did play for Houston for at least one drive where they scored a touchdown. CJ Woody Marks on the ground for the Texans got into the end zone, able to score there to get the lead or to take the lead to start off. But Fernando Mendoza's debut was a little bit shaky. 86 yards passing, 8 for 15, no touchdowns, one pick. He was 1 for 4 to start off. He did have a pick six in the first quarter that really got out of hand for him. But those are the mistakes you have to make in the preseason if you want to grow to be a good NFL quarterback. So I'm not really knocking him. I don't think he had any rushing yards as well. I thought his pocket awareness was pretty good. I mean, even though he took a couple sacks and a couple hard hits, he still got back up. I think after that interception, he went 6 for 7 on the subsequent drive, led them to a field goal. Unfortunately, couldn't score a touchdown on any of his drives, but that, that's not it. That's not the point. Getting the reps that you need in the preseason are definitely vital for your future in the National Football League. So yeah, the rest of the game, it turns out, it was a great one. The Raiders defense shut out. It was mostly Davis Mills and Brett Rippon. I think Brett Rippon started most of the second half. He went 6 for 10, 44 yards and an interception. Of course, that was the game-sealing interception. We'll come back to that one a little bit later. But Houston had plenty of opportunities to put the game away late. Las Vegas kept chipping and chipping away. Aiden O'Connell, credit to him. He came in and played the second half. 15 for 24, 166 yards, including that great throw in the 2-minute drill to, I think that was Brandon Johnson for a big play down to the one. And then O'Connell sneaks it in with 20 seconds, and the Raiders come back to win that one 22-20. Now, the kicker battle for the Raiders, you had Matt Gay and also this other guy, Kensai Matsuzawa. So he's a rookie from Japan, and unfortunately, he missed 2 extra points. So yeah, he's probably not going to win the job over Matt Gay, which is unfortunate for him. But yeah, no field goals attempted. Okay, 1 for 3 on extra points, but you still missed 2 extra points. That's the point. So yeah, we'll see how things go for the Raiders here. They got one more preseason game. Let me pull it up. They play against the San Francisco 49ers on Thursday. That's at 8 o'clock kickoff. So we'll see where things go there. Texans' last preseason game at the Carolina Panthers. Now, the Texans, they didn't play majority of their stars. Of course, they didn't have Jaden Higgins tore his ACL in a joint practice. So it sucks for him. That's a good segue to discuss joint practices in the NFL. So, of course, this comes off the heels of the Saints and the Cowboys each getting fined $50,000 for their roles in joint practices. Now, I've seen joint practice for a long time. They always, not always end up in fights, but you have fights the majority of, or you have fights a significant amount of the time. So let me look up this stat real quick. So in terms of joint practice fights, I think he had one the other day. The Giants and Dolphins had a joint practice that ended up in a massive brawl. and that was the other one this week. I think the thing with joint practice is I've listened to a lot of players' opinions on this on ESPN, and what a lot of them say is that they they do like joint practices to be able to hit other guys that are not your own. And yeah, it's good to practice against other people, but in my opinion, isn't that what the preseason should be for? Instead of playing behind closed doors? I think that should be the main thing. I think, in my opinion, the game action is where you see the best scenario, and that's what the preseason is for. The games don't count, but they matter, and that's the main point. Instead of joint practices, I want to see the ones go against each other in game action, not in a practice, in a controlled environment, because you never know what else could happen. And it seems like the practices that end in fights, and that's what the majority of this is. Once you get, they end practice early because of it. I think a lot of it, you just have a lot of this is just you. It's a lot of wasted time, in my opinion, especially with these fights that go on in practice, and let them scrap it out against each other with teams specifically. That's the thing. I mean, if you want to have, players do want to have joint practices. That's the thing. They see the value of it instead of playing in a preseason game. I get that, but it's just my opinion that you have more, since the fans can see you more on TV. You can have them playing the regular season or in the preseason game. That's the thing. And I think, like I said, the preseason does matter. It matters to a lot of people, including those guys on the bubble to try to get on the roster. So, and you're also auditioning for in a joint practice for the other coach as well. Why not do that in the game? That's the thing. I mean, and that's enough about that. We'll get into some NBA news yesterday, or I think this is a free agent signing. I don't think it was an extension, but James Harden signed a 3-year, $97 million deal to remain with the Cavs. So, obviously, the Cavs went to the the Eastern Conference Finals last year, first time under Donovan Mitchell, first time since LeBron James left, but they did end up getting swept by the New York Knicks. So, I understand a sense why the Cavs did it here, but I don't know. Because you have James Harden was a no-show in the playoffs, and I saw a stat where this is now expected to put him over the $500 million career earnings mark, and he's the only player by far that has done that. He has not won multiple championships. The only player that hasn't won multiple championships to reach the $500 million mark, and he hasn't even won a championship yet. That's the thing. He's great in the regular season. Don't get me wrong, MVP contender for a lot of years, especially the MVP he won. I think that was 2018. But if you can't get done in the playoffs where it matters the most, then why should everyone look at that legacy as something other than not winning a championship? Now, I know Russell Westbrook did retire, and that's the thing. Russell Westbrook retiring without a championship. But the thing is, we don't see. I don't think Westbrook got even close to $500 million. So, I think this does put pressure on James Harden. I think he's. Let me double check his age real quick. I think he's 37 years old. 36. Okay, so he's on the older side now. And I think this deal will more than likely run through the end of his career. So we'll see how this deal ages, but this does put a lot of pressure on James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, all those guys, and Peyton Watson they just signed. or they just traded for in a 5-team trade. This puts pressure on him too. A guy that I think he won a championship. I think he was on that championship team with Denver. But let me double check. But that's a good addition for the Houston or the Cleveland Cavaliers. He did win in his rookie year, 2023. But he's back and forth between the Grand Rapids Gold. But, you know, we'll see how things move on. I just want to touch up on Russell Westbrook real quick to see his career earnings, because I do not think he made it over at least close to 500 million. So career earnings 349.5 million. So earning 166.9 by Oklahoma City. 18.3 with the Jazz. He's played for a lot of teams. He made 3.3 with the Nuggets, 3.6 with the Kings, only 4.6 with the Clippers. Went to the Rockets, reunited with James Harden after the Thunder decided to rebuild. That was 37 million, 40 million with the Wizards that one season, and then 73 with the Lakers. So yeah, he's earned a lot of money, but James Harden definitely living off that championship, or living off that MVP run in 2018. That's the thing. So we'll move off of James Harden and talk about this bizarre story that happened across the world of baseball. So on Monday, Ketel Marte, he was placed on the restricted list after no showing to the game against the Red Sox. So they said he was dealing with a personal issue, but in reality he was heading back to Phoenix to get imaging done on his knee. So he's now moved it to the injured list. And this happened last year too, where Ketel Marte missed some games down the stretch during a playoff run. I mean, I think the thing here, it's just bad communication by Ketel Marte on his part. I think it was, let me get this, it was his left knee. If you have soreness in your left knee, why not communicate with the team instead of basically ghosting your team? That's the thing. If you're a professional athlete, you definitely need to communicate with your team about stuff like this. I mean, and to make people think that it's a personal matter. I mean, last year he was on the restricted list. He had to deal with a home burglary. So, I mean, if I'm the Diamondbacks, I wouldn't re-sign him at the end of his deal. That's the thing. They're trying to make the playoffs for the first time since 2023, and they're one game behind the Padres. So you have to be... It's no big deal if you have to go on the injured list for a little bit. But don't ghost your team like that, and then go back to Phoenix not telling anyone. I mean, if I'm the Diamondbacks, why would I even want to bring him back if he's doing stuff like this? I mean, he's in his 30s now. He's been around the league for a long time. Ketel Marte has. So, yeah, I'd probably not re-sign him after this. So we get into that. We take a look at our weekend preview. There's a lot of stuff going on. Premier League. We'll have a separate Premier League preview segment in the next block, but we will have preseason football this week, and that will be... We'll start with the Bears taking on the Bengals at 7 o'clock Eastern Saturday night. We'll have that game streamed here on the channel. And I don't know if the starters are going to play for the Bears. We'll see. I'll have to listen to Ben Johnson's press conference later on today after practice, see if the starters will play. Of course, they didn't play last week. And Tyson Bagent's dealing with he's dealing with a hamstring injury that's expected to sideline him through the rest of the preseason. So if it's not Caleb Williams, I think it'll be Case Keenum to start, and then we'll see Miller Moss So, I mean, we'll see how the Bears do. I don't expect the starters for the Bengals to play, especially after Joe Burrow took that hit last week. So, I mean, I'm hoping the Bears win, keep our preseason win streak alive. But I think I liked what I saw from Salman Ahmed last week. That's going to be the thing to watch out for there. I want to see him get increased role. Roshan Johnson, will see how he plays again this weekend. And then we'll go other preseason action as well. At the same time as the Bears game, A.J. Brown is playing against his former team in the Philadelphia Eagles. It'll be interesting to see how the dynamics work there with A.J. Brown going against his former team. The 1 o'clock action, I'll call this the Cleveland Browns battle of shame between two bad quarterbacks in Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson. They play the Buffalo Bills at 1 o'clock Saturday, so we'll see how things go there. The late afternoon game to watch. Of course, you had the joint practice between the Giants and the Dolphins get into a fight. They'll play their preseason game Saturday at 4. And then tonight's action, Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, even though Aaron Rodgers isn't playing, he's playing against his old team, the New York Jets. Now, he played last year against them. But it's a shame that he couldn't play in New York. They did last year, like I said. But he's not going to be playing tonight. The Packers and Broncos, that's basically the most preseason of all preseason matchups. Then finally you have Seattle taking on Tennessee at 8 o'clock on Sunday night. That's the only Sunday preseason game so far. And then also Sunday night as well, we have the Little League Classic. Of course, Little League World Series is going on right now, where I think they were rained out today's action, but I think they're playing as of right now. Let me take a look at and get a score update from that. Okay, Tijuana, Mexico beat Sydney, Australia 7-1, and right now Ohio and Nevada are tied at 5. Of course, the action was rained out yesterday, so they're having 8 games in total. So a couple of more opening round games. Tokyo, Japan taking on Curacao, and then California and Iowa, both at noon. Then Nicaragua against Panama. Those you have Washington taking on Texas. Then Czech Republic taking on Seoul, South Korea. Then finally Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So that's the action for today in the Little League World Series. But the Little League Classic between the Braves and the Brewers is going to be on Sunday night at 7 o'clock. So we'll see. Another best pitching matchup, we got Tyler Mahle starting for the Braves, then Shane Drowan starting for the Brewers. So today you have on the mound, today's the Aces matchup between Chris Sale and Jacob Mizorowski. That's at 4 o'clock Eastern. But I think the Little League Classic has done great wonders for the game. I think it's good to see these Major League guys spend the day with these Little Leaguers and having a fun night out at the ballpark. Especially for these international guys that come in from overseas, getting to see a Major League game in person. I mean, it's definitely one of the best things that baseball has done, and ESPN. And the Little League World Series is always a marquee event on the sports calendar. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it. The Magic of Williamsport, sliding down the hills, always one of my favorite events of the year. I've been watching it every year since around the early 2010s. It's always one of the best things to watch for every year. But yeah, they couldn't have picked a better matchup for that game. The Braves and the Brewers. Both teams are contending right now. Of course, it is our game of the week for Major League Baseball that we'll be streaming. That's at 7 o'clock Eastern here on the channel. The Brewers and the Braves trying to challenge the Dodgers for supremacy in the National League. So that will be something to watch for here. And now let's get into our preview of the Premier League season. So I'm going to make my predictions here as the Premier League starts later on today. Coverage starts at 2:45 Eastern here on the channel. Arsenal taking on Coventry City. Be sure to tune into that. But our preview of the Premier League starts here. So let's get into this. I made a tier list earlier today. Let me pull that up. So we'll start with I don't know where I should start. I think we'll go last place up. So the teams I have going down that'll finish 18th through 20th. So those teams are going to be Hull City. I think they're going to finish 20th. I think they're by far the worst team coming into the Premier League season. And then Ipswich Town, another promoted team. I think they're going to be the ones to get relegated as well. And I think the other team, it's a team that qualified for Europe last year. Had a great season in their first year up, but I think it's going to be Sunderland getting the final drop. I don't really see how they can stay. I think they're definitely a big candidate for regression this year. I mean, they got a European schedule coming up. I think this week, I want to say next week is the draw for all the European league stage competitions. If I'm not mistaken, I'll double check that right now here. You have one more playoff round for the Champions League and Europa League. So we'll see. We'll see where Sunderland will play. Obviously, it's going to be their first year in Europe since I don't even know. But they definitely haven't made it that much in my lifetime. And they were in League One not even 10 years ago. So I think Sunderland's going to get, the Black Cats are going to get the boot from the Premier League this year when it's all said and done. And from 14th through 17th, Coventry City I actually have staying up. They had a great season last year, winning the championship, and their story has been amazing. This is a team that at one point got kicked out of their stadium not even 10 years ago because of debts that were piling up. They were relegated to League Two, the fourth tier of English soccer, and have clawed their way back up, getting into a better financial situation. And now they're in the Premier League for the first time since 2001. So credit to them for digging themselves out of a big hole. And I think Coventry City is going to get rewarded and staying up. And then the team that I have 16th is going to be Fulham. I think they're primed for regression this year, but I think they just barely stay up. Crystal Palace, even though they won the Conference League, which their first ever European trophy, I don't think a lot of people saw that on their bingo card. And they have a chant. We're finished in 12th, who gives an F. They won the FA Cup, and that FA Cup secured them a spot initially into the Europa League, but based on a multi-club ownership problem with Lyon, they had to go down to the Europa Conference League, which is the third tier competition of European football. But they ended up winning. Of course, they don't have the best competition there, but that's neither here nor there. Crystal Palace technically European champions, even though West Ham won the inaugural Conference League, and now, or not the wait. Let's just say West Ham won the Conference League, and now they're no longer in European football, or not even the Premier League. They got relegated this past year, so it doesn't really matter in the end who wins the Conference League. So Crystal Palace, they are in. I have them finishing 15th. Then Leeds United down in the final relegation battle spot at 14th. And who knows how it will shape up yet. Some seasons where teams are relegated by March. All three teams decided by March, basically. The mid-table tier, this is where you can flip-flop some stuff around. So from 9th through 13th. I have Brighton finishing in ninth, Bournemouth in 10th, Everton finishing 11th, Nottingham Forest in 12th, and Brentford I am finishing 13th. So, I mean, enough said about that. We'll go to the Europa League spots, and this is where I have Tottenham just sneaking in, finishing 8th. I think there's no way Tottenham can afford to have another low table finish. I think this year they have to finish in the top 10. I think they finished 17th the past 2 years in a row, and they almost got relegated on the last match day. There was a real scare for them. They could have gone down. So, Tottenham, I don't think, can afford to have another bad season like they had, or else they'll probably get their Big Six status revoked. I mean, I don't know if you can really do that, but it won't look good under a lot of people's eyes. And then I have Newcastle finishing in 7th. Of course, they missed out on European football last year after what could be described as a disappointing season. Even though they lost some of their key pieces, I think Newcastle does find a way to finish 7th. I think with the investment that the PIF has made in them, they can't afford to miss European football again. The team that made the Champions League last year, one of the better Premier League sides, I have Aston Villa just finishing outside of the Champions League spot. They're going to finish 5th in the table. So, Aston Villa, they still got a great team, don't get me wrong. But I would say Villa, I think Chelsea is going to be the team that finishes 5th over them. It's going to be a competitive top 6 race here for the Premier League, maybe even top 8. So we'll have that. I have Chelsea finishing 5th, and I think the Premier League will have the 5th Champions League spot. They do a weird thing every year where the top coefficients of the season get a 5th Champions League spot. The Premier League has it most years. I think they continue that. And then we have Liverpool. I'm finishing 4th, even though they missed. I think they failed to qualify for the Champions League last year. Let me double check that for the Premier League standings. But I want to say Liverpool is not playing Champions League football. Okay, they are there, finished 5th. Okay. So they finished 5th. Oh, Chelsea, they missed European football last year. Didn't realize that. So, that's definitely something to watch for there. So, Liverpool did qualify for the Champions League, but as the 5th spot. Manchester United's back in. I have them finishing 3rd. Manchester City at 2nd. And I have Arsenal repeating as Premier League champions because they brought back most of their guys. They made a signing of Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle. I think that's going to be a great signing for Arsenal. They were in the Veni Junior sweepstakes, and yeah, I think they're the best team in the league, if not the world. That is who I have winning the Premier League. So, those were my Premier League predictions. So let's get into our Immaculate Grid coming up here. Before we do that, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more episodes like this and more Immaculate Grids like this. So, let me pull up the grid. Let's get started here. All right, so we start off the Milwaukee Brewers and the Cincinnati Reds. You have played in the outfield and then born outside the U.S. and D.C. I mean, this one pretty simple. Jackson Chourio, and then born outside the United States and D.C. Let's go Freddie Peralta of the Tampa Bay Rays now. And then played for the Reds and the Brewers. Did Scooter Gennett have a stint with the Brewers? Let me see. He did. Okay, lucky guess there. Don't ask me how I knew that, but that was a pretty good guess there. Played outfield for the White Sox. Let's go Sam Antonacci. Only 1% got that, really. Not a lot of people are going current. Let's go Ozzy Guillen. Wait. They're saying 100%. Okay, they're calculating. So those weren't the top. So it's just calculating right now. But we'll stay with it here. Played outfield for the Twins. Miguel Sano played first. Did Buxton play a game in outfield? Okay, he did. Okay. All right. Born outside the United States. This will be Miguel Sano. One of the best Twins. Only 4% got him. So White Sox and Reds. Don't really know. They got the Twins and the Reds. So yeah, we'll come back to that one a little later. Let's play some football now. Jaguars and Panthers, they play tonight actually. Oh, they had somebody recently. And Dalton, I don't think played for. Wait. Etienne, did he? No. He plays for the Saints now. The Expansion Bowl of 1995. Only one team? Okay, we'll do the Hall of Famer Luke Kuechly. So, Washington Commanders. Let's go Jaden Daniels. Then Rams Aaron Donald. The rumors have subsided a little bit about Aaron Donald. So we'll see whether he comes back or not. I don't know. Commanders and Steelers. So you think back to the Redskins days. Don't really know. So I think the Commanders and Jags had somebody. Diami Brown? This might be a blast from the past. Yes, okay. Great guess there. All right. Oh, Ryan Clark. Did he play a game for the Redskins? Okay, he did. That counts. Former ESPN personality. Now, this would be David Tepper, but... Oh, Kevin Green. I think he played for the Panthers toward the end of his career. He did? Okay. That's a good guess there. Rams and Steelers. If I think back to the St. Louis days, I mean, Rams, Jaguars, I think they had somebody. You know, we'll come back to that one a little later. NBA basketball, a Celtic and a Laker. Interesting. That's that's something to, I don't know. Let's go first round pick, MVP. We talked about him earlier in the show. Got the extension, James Harden. There we go. We got the Brooklyn Nets first round pick. Was Jason Kidd a first round pick by the Nets? Okay, there we go. I guess it could be a first round pick that wasn't a first round pick by the Nets, even though, yeah, well, that's definitely something there. Boston first round pick, Jason Tatum. Guy they decided to keep over. The other guy was his name, Jaylen Brown. Thunder and Celtics. You had to have a nasty. That was definitely a nasty combination there. If you wanted to have both. I can't think for the life of me for who played for the Lakers and the Celtics. But I do know D'Angelo Russell played for Brooklyn Nets. There we go. Let's go Kenrich Williams. I think he played for the Nets at one point. No, he didn't. Okay. MVP, Shea Gilgeous Alexander. Then obviously Kobe. May he rest in peace. So we'll come back to that one slightly later. Let's do women's basketball here. I'll probably not get this. Now our soccer today. We'll go with the English game. Hull City and Tottenham. Then Hull City, Ireland. Hull City, Asian nationality. Oh, man. Yeah, probably not getting this. We'll go Sergio Aguero for Man City and Argentina. Then the GOAT, Lionel Messi. Let's go Lamine Yamal. And then Man City league goals for a season. That is going to be Holland. I don't think I can name a single Udinese player. Sorry if you're a fan of that team. I mean, I think it's a mid-table Italian team. So we'll see how things go from there. But let's get into our rarity score here before we sign off. This should be definitely a good one. 237. Only missed 2 there. Missed 3 for football. Rarity score 439. Only missed 3 for basketball. 455. Okay. So that's definitely a great score there. So we'll go ahead and conclude this episode here. We thank guys for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Back in for another show on Monday, but in the meantime, the weekend schedule is out. We got 3 games. Arsenal, Coventry City coming up in just over 3 hours. Make sure to tune into that. Plus Bears Bengals preseason action on Saturday night at 7, and Sunday night it is Braves Brewers at 7:10. So from Three's a Crowd, I'm Preston Vargas saying so long and have a great rest of your day.